Hey y'all, this is Bridget with Paper Made Me Do It. So, as the cool kids say, I did a thing. I started a new sketchbook. Yay! It is an A5 Archer and Olive blank page sketchbook, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, in this video, I wanted to share not only why I decided to do that on this particular morning, but also some of the thoughts that I've had about it and how I plan to use it in the days ahead. First, I'll mention that in this simple sketch, I'm starting out with a charcoal pencil, going in a bit later with some colored pencils, and using a cardboard type smudging stub toward the end to smudge out some of the charcoal pencil that I use for some shading. This is predominantly how I plan to use this sketchbook moving forward. So I'll be using a variety of mostly pencils, maybe some pens here and there, some fine liners or drawing pens, but probably not a lot of painting or other mediums at this point or in this book. Now that I've said that, watch me get the urge to paint next week. If that's the case, then so be it. I may just do it, but I really want to mainly practice and hopefully improve on my drawing skills. So this morning, I actually had no original intention of doing this sketch or even making a video for that matter, but I woke up about an hour earlier than usual, and I decided to turn on the YouTube app on my phone and just listen to some videos in the background as I was getting ready for the day. The first video that I played was the second part of a sketchbook series on Burgess Taylor's channel. If you like to draw or sketch or take part in any art medium that would lend itself well to a sketchbook, I would encourage you to check out that series on her channel if you haven't already. There were so many comments that she made in that video that were just so relatable for me that I then decided to go back and listen to the first video in that series. And those two videos were really what gave me the push that I needed and the inspiration to start this new sketchbook this morning. So Burgess, if you happen to see this, thank you for making that sketchbook series. I really needed the push. Okay, so to give you some context, I'm going to back up just a little and say that the whole month of August 2020 was really a bit of a blur for me. It was a very stressful time in my life for a couple different reasons that I won't go into now, but I will say that fortunately, both of those issues have since been resolved. So, amen to that. But the result of that stressful time left me feeling really off my game in a lot of ways for at least a month. So I spent most of the first half of September kind of going back to square one, reassessing the systems that I once had in place for planning, for journaling, and for art. Pretty much all of the systems that I had in place earlier this year that involved paper of any kind. And with the big Hobonichi release happening around that same time, I've always had the tendency to do that this time of year anyway, kind of reevaluate everything, so to speak, as I think ahead about the upcoming year. But what was really different about this year is that for a period of several weeks, I found myself in this slump where I was not investing any time whatsoever into drawing, sketching, or really making art of any kind. Now, there were at least a couple times during that time where I felt like I wanted to do a sketch or something artistic, but I just never acted on it. I never actually did it. Instead, I kept finding myself in this vicious cycle where I would think to myself that I knew I was so out of practice that I probably wouldn't be happy with the end result. But you can probably already see where that negative cycle of thinking can lead. If you don't draw anything because you think you probably won't be happy with the final product, then you don't get any practice in. And the longer you go without practicing, the less likely it is that you'll ever end up with a good result. And I really do want to improve my skills for art. So going over this whole process and way of thinking this morning also reminded me of another video that I watched, I want to say maybe earlier this summer. It's been a hot minute, but it was a live stream on Romany's Realm here on YouTube, where she was discussing that a sketchbook is truly meant to be, and of course I'm paraphrasing here, but truly meant to be a vehicle for practice and nothing more. But like so many others, or at least I'm assuming that I'm not the only one that thinks this way, I can sometimes have a tendency to expect my sketchbook to be more of a collection of masterpieces, this beautiful thing to flip through, and every page is beautiful, and that's simply not fair to the process. I'm sure we've all heard before that a sketchbook should be a compilation of practice sessions, and sure, there's more than likely going to be some pages in it that you may not be happy with, but the overall goal should be to show progress from start to finish. And I know this, but there I was, not doing anything for weeks on end because I didn't feel like I had a masterpiece in me at the time. So it just became this situation of knowing better, but still kind of succumbing to that old saying anyway, rules for thee, but not for me. I was still, I think, at least in my subconscious, expecting my sketchbook to have to be perfect, and really only hurting myself by not practicing at all. So back to Burgess's sketchbook series on her YouTube channel. I'm going to steal a direct quote that she made in the first video. I just want to finish a damn sketchbook. I felt that so hard when she said it. I have so many sketchbooks sitting on a shelf in my stationery closet, my office closet, whatever you want to call it. I have different sizes, different paper types, different binding systems. But the one thing that they all have in common is that not a single one of them is completed. Another comment from the part 2 video in that sketchbook series that really inspired me, particularly this morning, was that it's always a good time to start a new sketchbook. If you feel like doing that, then just do it. The time will always be right. And for me, one of the most relatable concepts that she discussed was the need to just let go of perfectionism. That is something that I definitely struggle with, always have. But I also know myself well enough to know that it's something that prevents me from drawing altogether sometimes. And when that happens, it puts me right back into that vicious cycle of no practice, never leading to a good result. And I really just want to be done with that pressure, that internal pressure that should not be there. That prevents me from doing the work and the practice that will eventually get me to the results that I'm looking for. Now, I do believe that setting goals in general is a good thing, but I also know that when I've set a goal in the past to do something every day, it tends to sabotage me. Because if I ever miss that first day or 2 or 3, then I feel like I've failed at that goal and I just give it up altogether. So I'm not going to set myself up for failure by saying that I'm going to sketch something every single day in this book, which I have set that goal several times in the past and obviously failed. But I am going to set a goal for myself now to be in this new sketchbook that I just started as often as I can until it's finished. And I also want to view each page in it as an opportunity for practice and not an expectation of a masterpiece. So if you happen to find yourself in a similar slump, I would like to just strongly encourage you to grab a sketchbook. It can be new or old, and just start working in it. Start practicing. That's what it's for. That's the only way we're going to get better. Now, Burgess did a watercolor sketch of one of her palettes on the first page of her book, and the Archer and Olive paper is not really designed to bring out the best qualities of watercolor specifically. I think it will tolerate the watercolor, but it's not, designed specifically to be watercolor paper. So I decided instead to sketch a pile of my colored pencils on my desk this morning. And while I can look at this sketch and just instantly and very easily find several mistakes or things that I should have done differently, I'm going to just embrace instead that I actually sketched something this morning instead of just thinking about it, or instead of beating myself up for not doing anything. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed myself this morning and kind of got lost in this little sketch, and I did learn a thing or two. The charcoal pencil does not work well directly over the colored pencils. So when I wanted to go back and add more definition, I feel like in the middle of the sketch where a lot of the colored pencil was kind of overlapping each other, the charcoal, I guess because the colored pencils have almost like a waxy texture to them, I guess, depending on the brand that you're using, the charcoal did not want to overlay well on top of that and show up. So not only did I just kind of get to mindlessly escape and enjoy myself sketching, I actually did learn a thing or two technique-wise that I didn't necessarily expect was going to happen. I did also edit this video heavily because it actually ended up taking 57 minutes for me to do this sketch, which, I didn't mind at the time. It didn't feel like it took that long. I was shocked when I looked at the timer when I reached up to, stop the filming. It felt like maybe 20 minutes, 30 tops, but I actually did kind of escape for 57 minutes and then edited it down considerably for y'all. But if you like this video, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to make some more like it in the future as I dig into more of these pages. But that's going to be all for now. So I will set the remainder of this video to some music. And as always, I'd like to just go ahead and thank you so much for watching. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.